Welcome back, Interblops! Today, as a celebration of this channel's 10th anniversary, I'll be playing the Genesis version of Exile, a game I first LP'd for the TurboGrafx way back in 2007. If you're interested in background, I recommend Part 0 of this series if you haven't already watched it, but in brief, Exile is a console remake of the second game in the XZR series for Japanese computers. I'll be pointing out differences between the Genesis and Turbo versions as I notice them, and giving some background on the many historical and legendary figures featured throughout. So let's begin, shall we? Everything derives from nature. Man too enjoys the benevolent influence of nature in his life, but he has no way to cope once nature becomes violent with the storms, floods, cold spells, or other extremes of nature. Man has perceived the ultimate power in the wonder of nature. Because he is attracted to the ultimate power, man has started to think that power determines everything. The history of man has turned out to be a history of war. In war, each side believes that it is right, and tends to justify killing as a way of fulfilling its objectives. Throughout history, people have taken sides for their own benefit. Countries with more power have conquered those with less power again and again until one emerges as the superpower. One day the superpower was destroyed in a revolt led by Sadler, the wandering desert warrior. The blazing desert returned to the peace it had once enjoyed. Whew, I gotta read that fast. However, that peace did not last long. Sadler was once again drawn into war in the desert heat. The military of Luciel, a rival country, launched an indiscriminate attack on his land. Sadler has once again stood up to defeat the Luciel military. Well, right off the bat, we've got a couple of things to talk about. First is the Luciel military. In the TurboGrafx 16 version, they were referred to as the Clispins, and who they actually are Christian Crusaders. But we can't really talk about Christians in a 1991 console release, so we get a slightly Bowdlerized version. Also, Dune's Village, in the Turbo version, was named Assassi. Now, to the best I've been able to determine, there was no actual real-world location named Assassi. The word assassin is derived from Hashishin, user of hashish. Assassin was a pejorative used by a Fatimid caliph to characterize the Nizari Ismailis of Syria as a bunch of dope-smoking scumbags. Sadler, where have you been? I have been looking for you for a long time. Rumi, what makes you look so worried? There is a report that someone noticed a suspicious man in this neighborhood. We had better check the guy out. And we get our first party member. Rumi is one of Sadler's standard 4-man band across the Exile and XZR series. Party members in most of the games don't really do anything besides interact with the story. They won't actually be participating in combat until Exile 2, Wicked Phenomenon, but that's an LP for another time. Ain't got no customers to stay in our hotel. 'Cause Luciel forces have stationed themselves all around the town. You know, that looks a little more like a mosque than a hotel to me. Not entirely sure if that's the case in the original, but I get that feeling. According to the rumor, which you may have already heard, there appeared an emissary from the Dune Cavalry, which conspired with Luciel forces in the desert. The Dune Cavalry are the Knights Templar, who were referred to as such in the Turbo version. They get a little bit of a name change in the Genesis. I hope the rumor will turn out to be just a plain mistake. Well, if that were the case, then we wouldn't have much of a narrative or much of a game, so I wouldn't count on it. And this magician gentleman here is one of Sadler's other standard party members, Fakil. Right now, I'm too busy to go. Please forgive me. And last but not least is this gentleman in what looks like a toga here, wearing a fez. This is Kindi. I understand in the original XZR, Sadler bought his freedom from a circus, and they've been bros ever since. Now, in the Turbo version, he just spoke in grunts like but in the Genesis version, for whatever reason, he says moo, moo, moo. I wonder why some people want to fight when the world is in such a peaceful state. Question for the ages, sir. Oh, Sadler. Please take me on your trips when I grow up. That's not a major character or anything. Sometimes townspeople just randomly get character portraits. I think I might have missed someone. There he is. Sadler, Village of the Assassins will be well protected and safe if Luciel forces attack it. Now, as per what I described earlier about the term assassin, I don't think it was ever self-applied, but I could be wrong about that. It was definitely a pejorative. Now, over here we will have our first shop. We actually do have the money to buy a few better weapons and armor out of the gate. We start the game only with Bat's Sword and Bat's Shield, and we can buy the upgrades right away, so let's do that. Gaze's Sword is very cheap. Sim's Shield is not too bad either. Now, cotton clothes we won't be able to afford for a while. It is a pity indeed. But we can buy the hemp turban and clothes. We'll put on our better stuff. And then we'll get almost no money for them, but we might as well sell off our obsolete equipment. You should not go out while the sun is still shining and the temperature is so high. That's code for you haven't done enough story stuff to get out of the town yet. Fair enough. There was a rumor that the Temple Cavalry is acting in complicity with the Luciel forces. They must follow the example of Sadler and his group well. Not exactly sure what he's trying to say there. You should buy and bring weapons and medicines for your trip. A very good idea. We've spent most of our money on gear, but we might have enough for a few restoratives. And the pharmacy. As you might expect, that's where you buy drugs, but I'm not talking about Advil or Kaopectate. No, the drugs in the Exile and XZR series tend to be pretty hardcore narcotics and things like that, but they're all renamed in this version. Now let's see. Convulsants and Somnifacients are the two first quality of healing stuff. Kako is an MP restorative, but we don't even have any MP at this point. Snake Poison is an attack buff, and Ipodoc is a defense buff. How much are the Somnifacients? 200 gold, too much. Convulsants? No, we can buy one. My husband has locked himself at home all the time, ever since I asked him to go on an errand. He told me that he saw a member of the Dune Cavalry in the nearby desert, and that the Dune Cavalry and Luciel Army unit will come to attack and kill us. These are the things he talks about all the time. So, apparently that mysterious figure that has been seen around here lately is a man in Dune Cavalry gear. Oh, here comes Rumi. I am glad that you found Sadler. You are going to investigate the suspicious man whom my daddy saw, aren't you? I sure am. It happened when I went out to go shopping. I came across a guy wearing the uniform of the Dune Cavalry. They must have discovered us out here. If that is the case, Luciel forces will invade us. Don't you think so? Just thinking of that, I feel too horrified even to sleep. So, the investigation begins to take shape. We've had a man in Dune Cavalry uniform hanging around the place, and since the Dune Cavalry is affiliated with the Luciel forces, or the Knights Templar associated with the Crusaders, as the case may be, that's bad news for this town. Nope, still can't leave. You must gather your party before venturing forth. Hey, Kindy. Sadler and I are going to the Syrian desert. Can you join us? Moo, moo, moo. I will go with you. In the Turbo version, Kindy never speaks any actual words. I don't know if that's the case in the Japanese or not. In any case, Kindy joins the trip. And here's Fakil, conveniently enough. We are going to check the suspicious man. I've got the idea. I will join you. And now the band is back together. Let's head on out. The sky is getting more and more overcast. Now it will be safe to go out. And so we shall. We've only got one other place to go right now, the desert. Desert. Fair enough. I saw an unfamiliar-looking man walking toward the oasis. Now that must be our culprit. But before I approach the oasis, it's a good time to drop a save game because Sadler is very, very delicate at level 1, and this is going to be our first action scene. Whoops, there we go. Never mind the other saves, I did a little experimenting before I started recording here. Huh? Sadler? Damn it! This is a mirage, just as I thought it might have been. Well, you should have probably spoken up a little earlier there, Sadler. And down we go into the Antlion pit, which oddly enough is populated mainly by ants. Now, as I mentioned, Sadler is very, very delicate and weak at level 1, so I am just going to grind experience on ants here for a little while until I hit level 2. So I will see you in just a bit. Level increased. Very good. Now, as this dungeon is still more than capable of killing a second level Sadler, I'm going to go ahead and drop a save state. There we go. You may notice in the lower right that the attack power and armor class kinda wobble up and down in a regular rhythm. Those do affect your actual damage and the damage you can take. Because it's almost impossible to actually time that in synchronization with your actions, it's usually best ignored. The real danger in this dungeon is fast-moving flying ants, which we will start to encounter soon. By the way, we have our standard kneeling and standing sword slashes, of course, and we also have a downward thrust, which is really useful against certain bosses. There are those flying ants. As you can see, they move in on you pretty quick, and that's where the main threat is going to be, and the main source of damage to me. Now, this isn't the way to the boss, but in the upper right corner here, we're going to find a very useful item. Heart Poison, which is actually the best healing item in the game. So if we end up a little too low before we encounter the boss, that should help a little bit. I believe Heart Poison was either heroin or opium in the original game. Not completely positive about that, but I think it was one of those. And I have to say, Heart Poison sounds like something that's even a worse idea to put into your body, but who am I to judge? Whew, I think I'm gonna need at the very least my, what was it, my convulsants, if not the Heart Poison. Pardon me just kind of flailing my sword around from time to time. Helps me head off the flying ants, which are a little too fast for me to do on reaction. But that actually isn't going to be an issue, because here is our first boss, the Antlion. It's an Antlion in an Antlion pit, Sadler. There's nothing to be surprised about. Now, if you watched the original LP, the turbo version, you had to be careful to down thrust onto the Antlion's body and avoid its pinchers. In this version, you can down thrust directly onto the pinchers and it'll be just fine. This version is overall much easier than the turbo version, because the turbo was localized by Working Designs, and if you're familiar with Working Designs, you'll know that the only thing they love more than instantly dated pop culture references is increasing the difficulty of the games they translate. So yeah, pretty much everything in the turbo version had a lot more hit points, and often could do more damage too. But enough of that, have at you. The main threat here is just being hit by the Antlion when it's underground. The little sand bump thing can hit you, but took it out in 3 hits, so never mind. Now we've got just a little bit more dungeon left to go until we find what we came for. So I'm still going to be stabbing from time to time, just in case a flying ant tries to waylay me. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, though. Who is this guy? Probably he was entrapped by the Antlion and killed here. Oh, what is this? A message addressed to me. Dear Desert Warrior Sadler. Ah, they used my full title and everything. My name is Hugh de Pain. I am the commander of the Dune Cavalry. Hugh de Pain was a real-world person whose name I think is pronounced Hugh de Payen. I might be wrong about that. He was also known in Latin as Hugo de Paganis, and he was the co-founder and first Grandmaster of the Knights Templar. So that fits in just fine with the whole Dune Cavalry thing. I need your help for a very serious reason. I am sorry to give you so much trouble, but I would appreciate it if you would come down to the Shrine of Hummus. The Shrine of Hummus is the Temple of Solomon. Now the message is in his hand. Strange way of putting that, but Exile for the Genesis is overall a good deal more Englishy than the turbo version. We haven't seen any particularly egregious cases of that yet, but I assure you they're coming. Sadler, I am so glad that you were safe. Yeah, I am. He's so casual. Please read this message, which that suspicious guy was holding onto for dear life. What a surprise! This is from the Dune Cavalry, placed under control of Lucio forces. I feel this is a bad omen. I would rather go to the Shrine of Hummus. Ooh, ooh, ooh! You had better think twice, Sadler. I feel there is something wrong with this message. He's right, Sadler. This must be a trap. It is not that I totally believe the contents of the message. Yet, do you really think that those who would try to kill us would bother to resort to such a cheap trick? A cheap trick as this, if it were true? Moreover, the Temple Cavalry under Yuge's command has been known for its knighthood, allowing enemies the opportunity to choose to fight or to surrender. But now it has been placed under the command of Lucio forces, who look like a bunch of raiders. Therefore, all the more, I want to see him personally, to know his whereabouts. Okay, I'll go with you. Before leaving, I'll need to treat your injuries. You do get your health and MP back every time you leave a dungeon, which I suppose is Rumi treating your wounds, but it works even when Rumi is out of the party, so who knows. Is that right? That Osis turned out to be a trap set up by the Antlion. Yep, you got it. Well, we don't really need anything else in the Dune's Village at this point, so let's go on ahead to our next destination, which is Elin. This is a city that's under the control of the Crusaders. I don't know if it refers to any actual real-world city. I haven't been able to find anything pro or con on that, so if you have any idea, please do let me know in the comments, because I'd certainly appreciate the input. Now, this second dungeon, Saddler's a little more robust now, but this is still very capable of killing a second level Saddler, so I'm going to go ahead and drop another save here. It will be dangerous for you to go farther than this. You wait for me here, will you? We will. Saddler, you'd better be careful. Don't worry, I will. Nice little bit of grotesquerie in the foreground there. A couple of the Crusaders skewered by a sword. Now we've got a little bit of a door mace here, fortunately not super complicated. In addition to the sword-wielding Crusaders, we also have Crusaders with bows here. They take 2 hits to kill, but I'll still take them over flying ants any day of the week. Nothing here. It drops us right on a Crusader as I come through the door. That's awesome. But I still have my Convulsants and my Heart Poisons. Didn't have to use either of those. So I should be in good shape for a little while longer. I believe if I go this way, there's a bit of money that I can invest in. Or a bit of money that I can invest once I take it. Saddler finds 500 gold. A very tidy sum, and that'll allow me to afford the cotton clothes. So to get my health back, well, I'm going to increase my level first, but to get my health back and to buy the cotton clothes, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Unlike the Antlion dungeon, we can leave Antlion any time just by going back to the beginning. Hey, jerk. Saddler, I'm glad that you were safe. The Crusaders have occupied here. Boy, did we ever find that out. Alright, time to keep up with fashion. There we go. I think that only gives you a few more points of armor class, but every little bit helps. I still have a hearty pile of money, so I think I'm gonna go buy another curative just in case. Let's take some somnifacients this time for 200 gold. So now I believe I have one of every curative item. Back to Antlion. And I will freshen up my save. And on we go. Now this area does have a little bit of a door maze aspect to it. But if I recall correctly, it's not terribly complicated, and I think I have a vague idea of where I need to go. Roughly. But roughly will hopefully be enough. By the by, holding down the button will auto-fire your sword, which can be very handy, especially for enemies that take multiple hits. Multiple hips? Multiple hits. I suppose everyone has multiple hips. Sometimes one is artificial, but that still counts. I think I've gotten myself lost already. Let's... Keep walking right into arrows. That's not at all good for one's health. And that's backtracking, and we don't want that. Oh well, even getting lost this early in the game, I should add, does have the side benefit of getting me some extra XP. Okay, we're gonna go this way. I'm going to keep going left, and I think that's going to be more or less correct. Let's take some drugs, though. I think this might be the right way. I remember dropping down being a thing I want to do. Yeah, this looks good. We are going to have a boss in the near future, but it is even easier than the Antlion, so I am not at all concerned. Yeah, this is the place. What kind of a man are you to revolt against our Luciel forces? Who are you? I am Sadler, Desert Warrior. Is that Sadler? Oh, that is the Dune Cavalry. After their revolt against us, their next step is to ask for your help. Oh, so apparently the Crusaders and the Knights Templar aren't entirely on good terms. That is just laughable. First, I will smash you to pieces. Well, what comes second? Anyway, the reason this boss is even easier than the Antlion is that you are 100% safe when you're up on the platform here, and you can still hit him. The timing's a little tricky, but if you jump at the right time and down thrust, then you can hit the Crusader right through the floor. Piece of pudding. Now let's hurry to the Shrine of Hummus. Not to be confused with the Shrine of Hummus, which is much tastier, but quite a bit easier to attack. Hummus Shrine, which again is the Temple of Solomon. On what business do you approach the fortress of our Dune Cavalry? I received a message from Hugues de Payne. Let me see it. Oh, well, 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 if it is not Sadler. Please accept my apology for being rude to you in spite of my ignorance. Hugues is inside at the center of the shrine. Is he? Well, we've gotten a pretty respectful invitation so far. Now, I believe all the gentlemen with the red coats are Knights Templar. There is a torture chamber at the back. Since the Luciel forces are subjecting someone to torture right now, you can take this chance to witness their brutality. Yeah, there definitely seems to be a bit of bad feeling toward the Crusaders among the cavalrymen here. Help? Spit it out and you will be released. I know nothing. I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth. What a resolute ass he is. Shall we spray some salt on his wounds? Gah! Oh, damn. He has passed out. Throw water on him. Nasty bit of business indeed. So that's what it's like amongst the Crusaders, huh? I can understand why the Knights aren't big fans of them lately. Damn it! Those creeps of Luciel forces have fallen so low as to be nothing but a bunch of killer thugs. No way to take sides with such creeps. I'm gonna follow Hugues. And this is the prison. I have never seen you before. Stop loitering here or you will be imprisoned. Must be one of the Crusaders. So far I'm getting a much rosier picture of the Knights. Sadler, please help Hugues. He became doubtful about the attitude of the Luciel forces, who kill whoever opposed them. Hugues now thinks that there will be no more war if we gain more power so as to show Luciel forces that we are as strong as they are. Peace through superior firepower, huh? And speaking of which, they've got an ammunition dump. With all these of arms, I think they are capable of fighting an even battle with Luciel forces. It is because Luciel forces have formed an alliance with different countries. I'm not really sure how one follows from the other there. But never mind all that, let's go meet Yug. Enter into the door over there, and you will find Lord Yug's office. Thanks. Are you Yug de Pain? Yes, indeed. I was waiting for you. I wonder why you want to ask Sadler for help. For heaven's sake, what kind of plot are you hatching? I believe that mankind needs the power to unify the world in order to put the present wars to an end, and to prevent any war from happening in the future. And I thought the Luciole forces were the right choice. Then I realized that the Luciole considered anyone opposing them to be their enemy, and were busy calculating all kinds of strategies. Calculating strategies? What monsters! We must stop the folly of the Luciole forces. Do you mean you want me to help you to defeat the Luciole forces? Nonsense! Sadler, do you really believe in him? I think this is a trap. Listen, Yug. If your word should turn out to be a lie, I will kill you. Now, in the Turbo version, he got a little more elaborate there. He said, if this is a snare, de Pain, I'll strangle you with your entrails. So this Sadler's a little more polite, I suppose. Still a killer, but not quite so graphic about it. I understand. Let's go to Usi. Usi? It will take us more than a month to get there on horseback and by boat. What makes you think we must go to such a remote place? Do you know about the Holimax? If you obtain its power, you will become a mighty saint. Well, I guess that would be a pretty good deterrent against the Luciole types. We need the power of the Holimax to destroy the Luciole forces. There is something which should provide us with a clue to gaining the Holimax. Our ally, the Camu unit, is exploring it now. Okay, that's good enough. I want to ask you a favor. What is that? I want these two men in your company to guard this shrine. Since we have defied Luciole the forces, they may attack our shrine. That is a wonderful sentence there, Yug. Since we have defied Luciole the forces. You can count on them. Kindi and Fakil, take care of this shrine while we're away. Sadler, keep this with you. Oh, this is your precious staff. Don't worry, it will give you strength. Fakil, you are a great man. Now, Stadler has the magic stone of Kamul, and this will allow us to actually cast spells and use that MP for something, but we really aren't going to have to do it very much, this game being, again, much easier than the Turbo version. Sadler, I want to go with you. May I? No, it will be alright. I'll be her bodyguard. I don't know, I think that's more Sadler's job. And so we arrive at the Norbein Village. In the Turbo version, this was specifically named as Grenoble in southern France. This is a town placed under the command of the Luciole forces. I think that the people of Vrou are evil because they revolted against the Luciole forces. I am pleased to know that the evil people have been eliminated. Well, looks like not everyone has a negative impression of the Luciole folks. I am Andre, a shepherd. Recently, I lost a valuable sheep and was severely scolded for that. Well, yeah, not just a sheep, but a valuable sheep. Tell me if you find our missing sheep. No. No? Okay, I'll find it by myself. Now, let's be nice. Wow, what a sweet man you are. I'm not sure that's exactly how I'd describe Sadler, but I appreciate the sentiment. Andre is not capable of taking care of his sheep. He still has a lot to learn. I learned that Luciel forces set fire to the houses of the people of Rutown, just because the people lived there. What on earth are they thinking of? They're allies. Wow. Seems like the Luciel guys will actually turn on their buddies at a moment's notice. Oh, I have never seen you before. This is a church. No shit. Did you come here to make a confession? No. Or do you want to listen to our preacher? No? Then what do you want? I am not in a position to answer such a question. The hell did you ask her, Sadler? Let's go ahead and confess. Shall we start a session? Is that right? Oh, really? Did you really do such a thing? Now, let's pray together. Now, your sin will be forgiven. The fatherly figure in heaven is always with you and watches over everything. Never forget that. Oh, she seems like a nice lady. I have to wonder what Sadler confessed, between all the drugs and the killing and what have you. It's a wonder her head didn't explode. Whatever reason you have for coming here, you would be better off not to go to the next village. An old man's talk is seldom untrue, right? Well, I don't know about that. I would imagine old folks have the same capacity for lying as anyone else, but what do I know? Wasn't that force supposed to help keep the life of all the people in peace? For all that, friends are killing each other. What a horrendous thing to see. Yeah, another person weighing in on the whole Luciel turning on their allies business. And here I think we have a couple of shops, so let's see if we can afford the next rank of equipment. Oh, no, another townsperson. This neighborhood has become unsafe recently. Reportedly, the neighboring town of Rue was destroyed by Luciel forces. That town belongs to the country which Luciel formed an alliance with. I am sure of that. When friends are hurting each other, whom can you trust, for heaven's sake? It's hard for a countryman like me to understand what's what. Hey, I'm not a countryman, I'm more of a desert man, and I don't get it either. Yeah, here we go. 615 gold. Blue nose sword, we can afford that. And Egon shield. Oh, I miss you, Harold Ramis. We can just barely afford that. And that'll bring us up to date with all the equipment. Very cool. And of course we can sell off our old equipment and get a little bit of that back. Don't need any more healing items at the moment, so I'm just going to pass by the pharmacy there. If you go this way, you will reach Faizan Pass, where the Cathedral live. The Cathedral are a group of ghosts which use magic to attack people. You had better not go, or they may attack you. Well, I ain't afraid of no ghost. I really do miss you, Harold Ramis. Huh? Rumi, what's the matter with you? Rumi was kidnapped. Wow, you're real casual about it, aren't you? What? This is the act of the Cadet group. Sadler, they must be in Faizan Pass. Yug, let's go and rescue her. And so over to Faizan we go. Now somehow I can trigger a conversation here. There we go. Sadler, wait a minute. What's going on? Those are stone carvings of the Cathedral, if I am not mistaken. Cathedral? What is that? The Cathedral is a group of ghost magicians who went insane. Before their death, they were a group of ceremonial servants who excelled in medicine and astronomy. This structure symbolizes a model of outer space. Something very significant must be hidden in those columns. What is the secret? Sadler, go ahead and check the inside of the cathedral, by yourself. Well, even though this is the more Englishy version of the game, at least it spelled cathedral right, which the turbo version did not. Those stone carvings weigh heavily on my mind. There may be a hidden secret about the cathedral. Sadler, how about the inside of the cathedral? Yeah, but I got another bit of business first. A sheep. This must be the sheep that the young shepherd lost. Look, it's holding something in its mouth. It is transparent and looks like a stone. This guy won't give up the stone. Well, if we can't persuade him, maybe his shepherd can. Eh? Did you find the sheep? Take me to the place where you found it. Can do. Did a cadet kidnap your companion? Perhaps she is in the cathedral at Faizan Pass. The old man told me that the cadet had taken up residence in the cathedral. Is that the old man who won't let us through? Wow, that is my sheep. I have to bring it home soon. Thank you, sir. Oh, it's holding something in its mouth. What a beautiful stone it is. Since you found the sheep for me, I will give you this as a gift. Oh, how nice of you. Bye-bye. Sadler obtains the reflector. That Andre is a very nice boy. Now, the reflector is something we're going to need fairly soon, but we can't really deal with that until we've had a look around the inside of the cathedral, and I think I'm going to save that for next episode. Well then, folks, I have definitely been enjoying revisiting Exile for the Genesis. It's been a long time since I played it last, and I hope you're enjoying the trip so far as well. I'll see you again very soon for the next episode of I Played a Thing, Exile for the Genesis, in which we head into the cathedral and do our next action scene. Until then, this is signing off. Today's drugs and violence have been brought to you by Justin Carpenter, Nolden, Zangamarth, Anonymous Benefactor, John Madigan, Sanguine Games, Misha Van Doren, Frank Grizzy, Tim J., Lolo De Puzzlo, Joshua C. Ritchie, Jared C. Rice, Sonic Rose, EX Potemkin, Alicia Goranson, Mechasaurus, DG Jono, Doug Russell, August Fortnight, Patrick Ballinger, Rob Lyons, Andy Kurland, Jerogue, Martin Schoenmakers, Mayo the Hedgefox, Hildegard Argelmach, IGV, Jazel, The Literary, Joseph Hall, Hot Mayo Sandwich, Dan Larson, and other faithful desert warriors. Many appreciations to you all, and to everyone commenting, subscribing, and watching. A journey's only as good as your companions, and you've been fine companions indeed. Take care, and have a great week.